Hello and welcome to the Racing Debrief. We're back with this series. Now, last week I did take a week off, I will admit. Um, First week we've skipped from the Racing Debrief. Just after Pocono, the whole weekend was a little bit disappointing race wise, so I wasn't feeling like talking about it. But we're back, and this week we got a few controversial races to go over, both Formula One and NASCAR. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about Formula One first. Um, wow, what a race we had, controversy wise. The race itself, there wasn't the, you know, the most excitement on track. Um, I think that the race had a few moments to highlight. We were going to say, oh, it's a great race. Honestly, Hungaroring doesn't provide the most excitement. But there were a few moments. First, at the start of the race, Max Verstappen goes to the outside, Lando Norris forces him wide. And of course, the FIA was going to penalize Max, and you know, gave that spot to Lando. Kind of made the race, I think, a little bit more boring. I think making Lando try to pass Max would have definitely increased the excitement. But whatever. Lando likes to cry on the radio. I think he's a whiny little bitch. To be fair, he's one of the most obnoxious drivers in Formula One, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. Max is forced wide. Max makes the pass. He passed off track, but he was forced there. I think it's fair game. Of course, FIA didn't see it that way. Sky Sports, of course, is going to see it that way. So, whatever. Max is told, hey, give the spot back because, they were going to investigate it. So, he gave the spot back and the investigation went away. Later in the race, now you go through a phase where not much is happening. To be fair, I think most of it was just sort of chilling. Um, I think that, from there, you have a little bit of racing, Max trying to pass Lewis, but for the most part, not the most excitement. So we get towards the end, and McLaren, who for some reason thinks that Max is a threat or Lewis is a threat, when really neither one was. So they do undercut on Piastri with Norris. And this, of course, creates controversy. Piastri was dominating the whole race. Put Lando in a spot where he leads. He's pulling away, but the team said, hey, we want to put the order back as it was. And this leads to, obviously, the controversy of, does Lando get the spot back? He kind of held it for late. I think, in general, team orders are lame. I really do. I think in F1, there's an issue with team orders. I think that the fact that it's so prevalent is unfortunate. I think that I get that the importance of a constructors championship is more focused on than other racing series. But I do think that when you look at it in general, I don't know, I think it affects the racing product, and I think that it obviously isn't a positive thing. Um, if team orders weren't a thing, I don't think that you make that type of move, right? I don't think you pit Lando first if hey, we're not going to make him give it back. But again, I think that it's kind of lame. I mean, I'm glad Piastri won. Again, he's a very likable driver at McLaren. I don't think Lando is, personality-wise, just the way he acts, like a complete child. So, I just am not a fan of the people that complain, athletes that complain. It's just obnoxious. Um, to me, you're racing. I don't want to hear you complain every 5 seconds that something didn't go your way. Um, if something genuinely was done wrong and you have a problem with it, okay. if you're done wrong by something that is obnoxious. But I mean, you benefited from something the team agreed to do. Just shut up. Shut up. Lando cries too much. Again, I already did a whole discussion how he was soft a few weeks ago in Austria when he said, "Oh, don't be friends with Max," because Max crashed him. So I've discussed it. I think Lando's super soft and a bum. Bum of the day. Right? One of our 4 bum of the day winners. We don't have to have 4 bum of the day winners, but if you're not following X, bum of the day every day. One of our 4 winners for bum of the day. So yeah, I think Lando, again, just obnoxious. The cool down room with Lewis. Lewis said, "Hey, you guys had a fast car." He's like, "Yeah, you had a fast car, 7 years ago." And just to be obnoxious towards Lewis, when Lewis was like, "Hey, your car's quick." He's just like, "Oh, you had a fast car before, now we do." Like, shut up, dude. Come on, dude. So that's just obnoxious. The other incident, of course, Max Verstappen into Lewis Hamilton. Max goes in the air, hitting his rear tire. That's a tough situation. Obviously, I'll go on here and defend Max Verstappen in racing scenarios. I will. Obviously, you've seen my channel. You've seen my posts on X, right? You'll have known my view of what Max does and how he races. In that situation, I feel like... obviously he locked the wheel up trying to make a pass, which led to it. But I feel like in that situation, he would have got 3rd in this race instead of 5th. So, I don't know. I feel like not having the fastest car, right? Because the Red Bull's 2nd or 3rd fastest. Not having the fastest car, having your teammate who is way behind and, can't help with strategic moves, right, to get ahead of McLaren or even Mercedes if George Russell isn't super far behind like he was. But to help with strategic things, I don't know. I think that Max was too aggressive. Again, I like that. I like the aggressive nature. I like that aggressive driving style. Obviously, if you see how I race in racing games, you'll know that I full send and make moves. And that's the people that I like to support in racing. But I don't know. I think that move was not the smartest. I think that he had plenty of time to get by Lewis and to cost yourself a spot instead of gaining a spot. Because the worst he was going to finish was 4th. Right? You got by Leclerc. No, we just had to work on getting by Lewis. I just think that points-wise, championship, big picture, it's not the smartest move, especially with Lando coming 2nd. And at the time, I believe Lando was still leading. So, I think it could have been better. But, it's whatever, I guess. But, again, I'm not a fan of the move. I think he probably thought it was on, make that move, but it wasn't. It was a long distance, so I don't know. I don't think that was the best move. As for other races, though, let's move on to NASCAR. First, we'll start with the Xfinity race. Xfinity race was pretty good. I think that for the most part, you had excitement throughout the field. Cars could pass. Not really sure we went with lower horsepower. That was a little strange call, but throughout the rest of the race, I think that it was solid with passing and moving, and overall the cars race like you want them to. That's the type of racing you want to see, and I think it was good. The end of Riley Herbst going for the win against Cole Custer and against Justin Allgaier, like that was it Allgaier? No, it was Eric Almirola. I don't know why that was Allgaier. He was like 4th. Eric Almirola. Wrong driver that starts with A. Almirola, not Allgaier. So, going against Cole Custer, Eric Almirola, like the way he raced, that was brilliant. He was chasing down Cole Custer, got by him. Eric Almirola gets by at the last lap. And the move that Riley Herbst made in turn 4, drifting the car. Oh, it was brilliant. That was an awesome finish, I gotta say. It was really cool to see, really awesome to just watch him be like, oh, I thought he was gone. I think a lot of people did. But But no, just a brilliant race. Now, I did say to my mom when we were watching, I'm like, tomorrow's not going to be it. And lo and behold, it was not it. All right, we go to Sunday, go to the Brickyard 400, and I mean, I like the atmosphere around it. Going back to the Oval, going to the Crown Jewel event, making that the Crown Jewel again. That it was the Brickyard 400 was the Crown Jewel from 1994 to 2020. Winning that was big. Winning that race is up there with Daytona 500, Coke 600, Southern 500. It's those four, right? So to lose that for a few years, I mean, it was kind of unfortunate, right? Obviously, having the Crown Jewels and having that race means something. Not that the win at the Brickyard didn't matter in those years, to Tyler Reddick and AJ Allmendinger and Michael McDowell, right? Winning on the road course. And, the drivers that won the Xfinity Series on the road course with, Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs and whoever won the other ones. I don't remember who won the other two. Like, those drivers, not that it didn't mean something to win at the Brickyard, but obviously winning on the Oval, the history of that is very, very strong, right? So, winning on the Oval is important. Racing on the Oval, I think, is important. But the next-gen car, right, and that was the whole argument that everybody had was, well, let's see what the next-gen car does, right? Because obviously the Brickyard's excitement and value and history dropped, right? And the importance and significance of that race and being a big event that everybody had to go to definitely fell off. I mean, those last years, obviously 2020 doesn't count. That was COVID, there was no fans. But 2019, 2018, 2017, like, there was a decline. Now, obviously, the decline of NASCAR at that time, now it's going back up, but at that time was declining. But that track was hit very hard with it, right? And that's why we've seen the movement of dates, right? Putting it on the finale race. That was the race before the playoffs a few years ago, or now, 5-6 years ago. That was the race. That was the cutoff, right? To add that excitement, add that drama, because it didn't have that. So, they wanted to add something to it, say, okay, this is the last chance to make the playoffs. But that didn't do anything for it. So, they wanted to add more significance, put Daytona at the cutoff, because that's just pure chaos, which it was in that spot from 2020 to 2023. This year is just 1 year move, and it'll be back to its date that it's supposed to be with next year. Just an Olympic break kind of schedule movement. Moved it forward because you can't move Darlington. It's the Southern 500 Labor Day weekend. That's its date, so it has to be where it is. So the tournament got moved. But either way, they moved that race to the 4th of July. Try to add something to it again. Add that 4th of July flavor to it, which again, Daytona held that forever. But try to move it to Indy, and now it's at Chicago. Again, I think the 4th of July date fit Daytona. It doesn't really have that same vibe. That 4th of July vibe that Daytona gave. But, whatever. That's its own conversation. Obviously, we didn't see how that 4th of July vibe went with Indy, because that was COVID. It got moved, so that was only like the first races back without fans. It was like, yeah, because it was like mid-May, so you had basically June and then early July. So it was one of the first few races back. There were no fans. You didn't get to see the atmosphere that it could bring. So, okay, let's go to the road course. Go to the road course 2021, and then it's there for 2 years. So, again, the road course with the 6th gen car was brilliant. NASCAR decided to make a car that raced good at road courses because fans liked seeing road courses, which then made road courses bad, because what made road courses good was cars that don't race good on road courses, right? The cars that aren't built for that track are good at that track. It's the opposite of kind of chasing something that it's not good at, right? So taking say, short tracks and road courses, those cars aren't good at that because they have small brakes, small tires. It makes the racing exciting. The old car was supposed to be good at mile and a half, and it was bad. So now the current car is good at mile and a half because it's not supposed to be good at mile and a half. So it's basically the track that it's supposed to be good at, it's too good at, and that makes it boring. That's what you get. That's what you get at the short tracks, as you get at the road courses, because those two are connected. So the short tracks and road courses are severely affected by the next gen car because it just is too good at braking, too good at turning and grip and all that stuff. So the road course became not exciting. All right, I think 2021 was solid. 22 and 23 wasn't great. But again, if you look at the Xfinity cars and how good they are at short tracks and road courses, because it's the same car, right, as what Cup was racing. So I think that going into this race, though, it just didn't seem like it was going to be good, right? The cars are going to get stuck on the line. It's super flat. It's super fast. You look at Pocono last week, there wasn't any passing outside of restarts. It was very, very hard to pass. And Pocono is the closest to Indy just because, one of the turns at Pocono is Indy. It's based off of it. And just the fact of the speed and basically the way it's laid out. One's a rectangle, one's a triangle. So they're a little bit similar, right? You got a turn and then a long straight and shorter straights. So it's just different shapes. Basically, it's got one more straight at Indy. So they race very similar. So when you look at how it was going to race, it was going to be trash. And, well, obviously, it wasn't exciting. There was definitely moments where I was like, why are we doing this? I made a post that said, at least we're not at the road course. Again, I think that Indy, for the history, it's important to race the oval. And obviously the win means so much, but I don't know. I don't know, what to do. Again, I think that some of the racing on the restarts is brilliant. Everybody's going for it. But I don't know. I think everybody going for it on the restarts is very exciting. That's very, very cool. Everybody's full send on it. People are, there's some crashes because everybody's just going, trying to make moves. But, man, there's a lot of times where not a lot happened because you couldn't pass. You couldn't drive up there and get by somebody. And it was just, I guess, unfortunate to see. So, there's that. Now, we get to the end of the race. Actually, we get to the first one where it was Chase Elliott got a penalty for the way he came off the pits. The access road blending onto the race surface. It's a little bit of a tricky area. He went above the white line. I guess that was the rule that they were implementing and discussing. But I thought that was always the rule, to be 100% honest. You couldn't go above that. Looking back at clips people posted from 2020, apparently you could. I was under the impression you couldn't. But Chase Elliott went out there, got a penalty for it. That was kind of big for a little bit. Somebody else got a penalty for it. I don't remember who it was. Maybe, was it Brad Keselowski? He might have. But yeah, there was that. But pretty much from there, first stage, Denny Hamlin won. Second stage, Bubba Wallace. Again, you had a little bit of strategies throughout it. Who was at the front, who wasn't. Movement throughout the field in that essence. But, again, if you got the lead, it was hard to lose it. Now, we get to the end of the race. On the last caution, Kyle Larson was catching everybody because he pit. He had new tires, fuel. He was able to fly through the field because everybody else was trying to save. So, he catches up, passes everybody. He goes into third behind Ryan Blaney. He's chasing down Blaney. And honestly, he could have made Blaney make a mistake at some point. It was getting close. 2 laps to go. Caution comes out. Now, Brad Keselowski has the lead, but he is probably going to run out of fuel. So, Brad Keselowski Manages to save enough, but on the restart, he's lined up on the inside. He dives into the pits. This puts Kyle Larson on the front row, gives Ryan Blaney the control. Kyle Larson goes, I think pretty much at the same time. People trying to say Kyle Larson jumped the restart. I don't see how he jumped the restart. They pretty much went at the same time. Of course, Ryan Blaney's melting down because he does. That's just what Ryan Blaney does. Super immature, kind of like I was saying before about Lando Norris. I feel a similar way about Ryan Blaney. I think he just likes to complain. Everything doesn't go his way. He just is freaking out. I mean, last year, the championship, when he was winning the championship, I think that really just showed how Ryan Blaney is. He was winning the championship. All he had to do was just stay a second. And he's freaking out because Chastain might have bumped him slightly or something. I don't even know. Melting down on the radio. And I thought he was going to lose the championship because of it. But, again, Ryan Blaney, again, one of those guys that just complains. I mean, he complained after winning Pocono because he didn't win another race. Like, that's just what he does. That's how he acts. By the way, he was complaining because he wasn't mentally ready for a restart. Like, come on, dude. I just don't. I think that's a lame excuse for losing the lead on a restart. He said in the post-race interview that he wanted them to call off the start so they could re-choose, which is just ridiculous. Because that would add 2 more laps to the race, that way you can get the inside lane. But, you know, whatever. Kyle Larson gets the lead in the turn. There's a long discussion about it. Long discussion. So much that they switched to USA Network, which that was in itself was funny. We can dive into that at the very end, but from there, you know, it's another restart. Larson gets the lead once again, goes on to win the race. Now, Ryan Preece crashes in the back of the field, hits the inside wall, but he definitely gets back going, and NASCAR doesn't throw the caution until the field almost comes back around to Preece, where he has not restarted. Now, what's my opinion on that? Well, I think NASCAR did the right move. I think that they, you know, made a call that was right. And I think NASCAR, most of the time, again, if nothing's happened in the race and you're like halfway through the race and it's super boring, they'll call the caution quickly. I will say that. But when it's towards the end of the race, when not much is, you know, left, you're in overtime, NASCAR will try and let the race play out. I think they really do. You know, you see lots of times, if there's a late crash, or somebody spins or something, they try and let the race keep going, right? They try and have it finish. And I think that they genuinely tried to see if Ryan Preece would get going. And he didn't get going. And they gave him a lot of time. They gave him plenty of time. The track's a long track. You don't need to call the caution immediately, right? It's not like it's Martinsville and you got to call it because somebody hit a wall. It's a 2.5 mile track, right? Plenty of time for him spinning in 15th before Kyle Larson going to get back around. So I don't think it's a bad call. I don't think that Larson was going to get beat. I think that he had the fastest car. If you do another restart, I don't think he loses to Reddick and to Blaney. But, you know, I don't think it's a bad call. I think it's one of those things that people want to be controversial. People don't want Kyle Larson to win because there's a lot of Ryan Blaney stands. But again, Ryan Blaney loves to cry, loves to complain, and honestly, I think he's the most annoying driver in NASCAR currently. I really do. I think that there's no driver that I want to see win less. I think that Chase Elliott's fallen from that spot. I think that Chase Elliott's fans are obnoxious, but Chase Elliott as a driver isn't that obnoxious, right? I don't think you can necessarily hate on Chase Elliott the person. I think him winning because of how annoying his fans are is another subject. But even then, the way he acts is way more mature than Ryan Blaney acts. And I just think that Ryan Blaney is the most obnoxious driver. By far. So yeah, there's that. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. We will be back next week for the racing debrief. It's only Formula One though. Yeah, it's only Formula One. We have the Belgian Grand Prix. Is it a sprint weekend or not? I don't know. Let's see. I don't remember if it's a sprint. I feel like it is, but that may be because it was a sprint last year. No, it is not a sprint. Belgium was a sprint last year and will be a sprint next year, but it's not a sprint this year. When is the next sprint? I mean, I'm good without a sprint, to be fair. Oh, it's not till October. Okay, so, yeah, Racing Debrief is back next week just for Formula One. It's our only week off from NASCAR, really, that involves F1 until the end of the year, once there's a few more F1 races. But, yeah, week off from the Racing Debrief. The week after, there's no NASCAR or Formula One. Formula One enters its summer break after Belgium. NASCAR has next week and the week after off, as it will be the Olympics. So go enjoy the Olympics. Yeah, but there's nothing because the races are on NBC, so they're taking time off for Xfinity and for Cup, and then the trucks typically race with those two series, so they're not going to have their own standalone week. So Xfinity's off for 3 weeks, 2 weeks for the Cup Series and the Truck Series. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week for the Racing Debrief for the Belgian Grand Prix. And then after that, we'll see you in 2 weeks for NASCAR from Richmond. So yeah, we'll see you guys then.